Internet. I'm Chris Reynolds, Senior Developer Advocate at Pantheon, and today on the stream we're going to be talking about Drupal CMS specifically, and Drupal themes. And we're going to be talking about it with someone who knows a lot more about it than I do, Mike Herchel on the stream, to talk about your new Drupal theme shop, Dripyard.
Yeah,
So
thanks for
welcome,
having me,
welcome to the
Chris.
stream. Yeah.
I appreciate
So
it.
talk about your background and why you created Dripyard and what Dripyard is.
Yeah, so my name is Mike Herschel. I live in beautiful Gainesville, Florida. I am an organizer of Florida Drupal Camp, which is happening in right about a month, so everybody should come to that. I've been involved with Drupal for over 18 years. Like I'm getting old, Chris. During that time, I started like heavily contributing mostly to Drupal's front end. I led the team and did a lot of the work on Drupal's default theme, which is called Olivero. I've done a lot of other work, especially like trying to remove flashes of unstyled content. I've done a lot of accessibility work, just all throughout Drupal's admin interface and stuff like that, and I really enjoy it. Recently, I started, along with my friend, Andy Giles, we started a company called Dripyard, and Dripyard makes Drupal premium themes, and there's a whole story on why you couldn't do that before, but now we can. Drupal has the technology to make that a reality. And yeah, so I'm here trying to promote it, talk about it, try to talk about best practices, et cetera, et cetera.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, and tell me about why themes are sort of a tough nut to crack in Drupal because I understand that there's a difference, and I understand that there's a reason why in the WordPress space we have a whole ecosystem around premium themes and things like that, but that never really happened in Drupal. So what is sort of like the difference and what makes it sort of uniquely challenging?
Yeah, Drupal has this different abstraction point of where the theme begins and ends. You know, with Drupal, the theme is more how it looks, but with WordPress, you people tend to put like specific functionality in themes, things like sliders and stuff, and maybe even like querying database and stuff like that. Drupal, Drupal has different ways to actually create the content model and and put together your data, but um, trying to get that to look pretty has always like really been difficult
Hmm.
because a theme does not necessarily know like what type of markup it's going to get, you know. So if I create a view which is kind of a smart list of like cards or something like that, I don't know what like what the content editor is going to call this. I don't know if it's going to be card view, view card, xyz. So like you can't really style that. You can't style the css. You also don't know what markup is going to be in there, etc. So people have tried to do premium Drupal themes before, and there's other companies that tend to do it. And the way that they do it is they tend to ship a module, which is analogous to a plugin in WordPress land, and the module creates these content types and makes all those decisions for them. You know, and at that point, they know what the markup is, so they can theme it, and you know it looks pretty. But where it falls
But
apart
you're
is when you
also
get,
locking things into a
yeah.
particular, yeah.
And people don't choose Drupal to be locked in. They choose Drupal because it can do like freaking everything, you know.
Yeah.
And it's awesome and it's free, you know. And so a couple years ago, I helped bring in a new capability into Drupal core called components, a single directory components. And what that is it sounds exactly what it is, but it's a directory in your code base, and you have your style sheets, you got maybe some JavaScript, you got your markup, your template file, which is written using Twig, and then you have a YAML file. And the YAML file has like kind of a definition of like all the data that it accepts and like what type if it's a string or if it's a Boolean or something like that. And at that point, so let's say we have a component. We call this, you know, component a card. You put all the markup for the card in the Twig file. You put all the styling in there. And at this point now, uh, any type of data, whether it's coming from views, coming from a contributed module like paragraphs, whether it's in another template, you can just invoke this template. So now what the theme can do is it can ship a large library of components. Our themes have in the mid 60s of components, and you can use those components to assemble your pages however you want with your data and however your data is architected. And that makes things super duper powerful. And what's super exciting now, there's a new page builder for Drupal called Drupal Canvas, and it's kind of analogous to like the page builders and like you see in Wix, Squarespace, Gutenberg, and stuff like that. And it allows you to kind of just rapidly assemble your pages, and the usability is great, and it's fantastic. So like we at Dripyard are leaning really hard into Drupal Canvas because it has a lot of traction. People love it. It's brand new. So like we're selling our themes, and our themes are super duper accessible. They handle all the edge cases. Like Drupal has like a million edge cases. We call them Drupalisms. And and then we ship a large library of components, and we also ship like example content and stuff like that. And yeah, and pretty soon the Drupal Association is going to be doing a marketplace, and we're excited about that too.
I've sort of internally when people talk about single directory components, like this is kind of going off on a tangent, but the way that I've framed it in my head about how what they sort of are from a WordPress context is they it seems like they're a little bit like Gutenberg blocks in terms of the role that they play, but like just different language, different sort of markup because you're using Twig instead of like React. But
Yeah.
essentially, it fills that same sort of. Is that sort of like uh, appropriate analogy?
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, I tend to prefer like the single directory components. And like my experience with Gutenberg has really been into Drupalverse, because there is like a Gutenberg
Hmm.
module for Drupal. And when we're creating our custom Gutenberg blocks, we have to create the React version, and you have to create the version in the templating language, which is Twig.
Yep.
And that kind of sucks because you have your markup duplicated,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then there's just like some other things that are just kind of pain in the butt. Like with single directory components, like is kind of the bare minimum that the system needs to know, and then it just kind of figures everything out, and it's a really great user experience. I mean, developer experience.
So to put it into context, in sort of a WordPress context, when you say that your Dripyard themes are shipping 60 components, it's basically the equivalent of a WordPress theme or a plugin that is shipping 60 unique, bespoke, specific Gutenberg blocks that work with that specific
Yeah,
theme, which is
yeah.
a lot. Which is a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is a lot, and what's kind of cool about it is it has it gives you that infinite, almost infinite, you know, ways that you can compose those and have even with the same theme, but have radically uh, different, you know, feels of your website.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about it a lot. We've teased it a lot. Let's see what it looks like. I'm going to pull your screen up right now. What are we looking at, Mike?
Yeah, so this is default Drupal right here.
It does look pretty default.
Yeah, so this is the Olivero theme, which I heavily worked on, and I love it. But it doesn't handle a lot of stuff. It doesn't do a lot of stuff. Like its use case is a blog, because we wrote this prior to single directory components. So this is default Drupal. We don't have any type of data. I did enable the navigation toolbar, which is the new toolbar over here that gets on the side, and I also enabled behind the scenes the canvas module, just because, so I don't have to like go do that in front of everybody. But I have our themes pulled down here. So you install our, like with Drupal, to install any theme, you pull the theme down, and in our case, we give you something like a zip file, and you can just pop it in your themes directory, and then you'll see something like this, and you just say install and set default. And so at this point it's installed, but you still don't have any content. It's pretty basic. You see like a home link at the top. That's not really compelling. So we built some really cool functionality here called recipes. And so recipes are kind of a new Drupal concept, which recipes can pull down other modules. They have default content and configuration. So we're going to install uh, Neon Byte Drupal Canvas demo and then Neon Byte Drupal Canvas patterns. And I'll explain what patterns is in a bit, although you probably already understand if you're coming from either Drupal or WordPress. And so as we watch it install here, I'm like praying for like no errors because we're in front of a lot of people and that's just what happens. But I tested it early, it'll work.
Doing it live. Live
Yeah,
demos are
right?
always exciting.
I know. So, all right, so it says the selected recipes have been installed successfully. So I'm gonna go to the home page right here. And at this point, we have content. You can see all of this really cool stuff up here. We have menu items. So our theme gives you this by default. It has multi-level menu systems, even like mega menus. We have recipes for layout builder, which is an older type of page builder. And then we have recipes for Drupal Canvas. And the only dependency for our theme is Drupal core. And then if you want to have Drupal Canvas, you can install that extra step, which is optional. So at this point, the editorial interface for Drupal Canvas looks a lot like, well, I was going to say like it looks a lot like this, but it literally is this because that's what I'm showing you, right? So let me center this right here. So we get in here and you can, start looking around and changing stuff, which is pretty cool. And it just gives you that nice little WYSIWYG. You can drag and drop stuff if you want, you can move this over there and it'll do all that. So what's kind of cool is like if we want to create a new page, and I can kind of show you our component list right here. So I'm going to create a new page. And I'm just going to call it test. And you can see it's called test there. I can actually publish that. And now if I go to test, you can see I have this awesome page right here, So let's go ahead and re-edit that right here. And at this point, we have a whole, so these are the list of components that we have over here. We got like some basic stuff like background images, headings. We have obviously a couple different types of cards, different types of form elements, and a bunch of stuff I don't really know how to categorize, so I just call it general. And then we have some layout stuff, things like sections and stuff. And like you start dragging these on, and it might get like a little confusing, So we ship with our themes. We ship a number of different patterns. So patterns are basically just like groups of components pre-configured, So I can come in here and like throw in like a card group, and the card group, I hit the preview button, you can see it's just like 4 cards across. I can get in here and I can start adding in content to these. This content this is like demo content. It was installed by default, so we can just go in here and start screwing around. And what's like really cool about this, and this is like so different from standard Drupal, like if previously when using like tools like layout builder or paragraphs, it was hard. Like it's almost like Drupal's user interface kind of got in the way. Like the code abstractions were exposed to the user interface, and it was and as a content editor, they're like, why the hell do I have to do it this way? And that's a little frustrating. What's kind of cool about Canvas is that it stays out of the way. It just kind of works, and it people like if once they learn something, they learn to hate it. They learn where its idiosyncrasies are. And like Canvas doesn't like really have a heck of a lot, and I can show you a couple and like how we're dealing with them, but it's pretty cool. So anyway, so here we have like a card group as I put together. something that we do with our themes, like of course we have a UI to change like the primary color that changes all like the button colors and everything else, but we have these concept of themes, so we can change like the background, so the
Mm.
background's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
white, and we can change the background dark. And what's really
Yep.
cool about this is we use like we use like the magic of CSS custom properties to kind of just like cascade everything down. And this design system to get that right, like honestly went through like multiple periods, and like multiple versions, so you can kind of see as I start like messing with these and changing them around, uh, you can figure out that, hey, this is like this is pretty flexible,
Hmm.
and our components are designed that way. So
Yeah, I mean that like that's analogous to like in Gutenberg there
yeah,
you can have styles, and the styles you can have same sort of thing where like a block or a pattern can use like one of however many styles that were built into the theme. I use 2025 the 2025 theme Gutenberg theme on a bunch of sites, and so I'm very familiar with like using the patterns, using styles for different things to change like this section versus that section and that sort of thing. So like this is all looking very very sort of familiar to me as a WordPress user.
yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So some of the other things that I'm like really proud of, and I'm just gonna like mention this is like there's times where like if you're creating a carousel and let's say I keep on going back to cards. Let's do something different. Let's do like icon cards. And let me make sure we're under here. Yes, I'm just gonna copy and paste this icon card several times, and I'm gonna go to the
Mm,
carousel and I'm gonna set it to like maybe 3, 4 per view. And but one of the things that I really like that like you can't select the card on here because of the JavaScript that's loading, but with our themes, we actually built in this like canvas edit mode. And this canvas edit mode will kind of like allow you to start dragging stuff around and
mm.
doing that. It kind of disables the JavaScript and apply some extra styles and stuff. You can't really see stuff dragging because these look exactly the same. But but there's like a little bit of niceties like that, like as a developer you have to think of. But yeah,
So show me, let's take a look under the hood because I'm interested in seeing again like from the perspective of somebody who has built and worked on WordPress themes and really complex WordPress themes. I'm interested in seeing like what sort of interesting things you have sort of under the hood about how these things are built from a perspective of like making something that is attempting to be usable by anyone in any context.
yeah. We still have a little ways to go as far as being usable for anyone in any context. Like Canvas made is making huge strides to do that. It's not 100% of the way there yet. So you can see like right here in our code base, we have 4 themes. We have Dripyard base, which is a base theme that's shared by all of our other themes.
Okay.
And so like I've been demoing Neon Byte right here. So within Neon Byte, we have a components directory. And these are the Neon Byte specific components. If you go under Dripyard base, we have much larger component library, and some of these directories are nested. Um, within a within like one of these single directory components, let me just see if I can find a simple one right here. Like
Mm,
you'll have your YAML file, which basically defines how it's built, like what type of data it gets. You can kind of see like right here, we have required fields for the text, whatever HTML element you want. We got some basic CSS, and like because we're a premium thing, we have like awesome documentation that we work on really hard. And then the template file, which is all like pretty straightforward. Um, so in addition to that, like we have, of course, like we have like our CSS variable architecture. that you can see. There's several different kind of layers. We have like some base styles, like our like kind of a reset. We have
Hmm.
different components that load at different times. Like we do a lot of work, like if you have a popular Drupal module, and like an example would be like the search API module that can hook into like Solar or Elasticsearch or something like that.
Yep.
Like we do additional styling for that. CSS will only load if when that module is uh, is enabled and present on the page. Um, all of our styles are literally just vanilla CSS. So there's no compile process. You don't have to worry about Node uh, not compiling 5 years down the line and stuff like that. And it's pretty straightforward, especially if you know CSS. If not, you can figure it out. And then like we have like different. I don't. I'm trying to think of other things that we have in here that are kind of cool.
Yeah, well, I'm interested in the base theme, and then all of your specific themes are extended out because that's same sort of thing as like the parent and child theme model in WordPress.
Yeah.
And when I there was a period of time when I was running my own theme shop, and that was how I did it. Like I eventually said, like, this is like trying to build a completely custom theme and then selling in a completely custom theme where the code is completely different from theme to theme is a losing game. Like I wanna have something that is like, this is like everything that all of my themes are going to share, and then build on top of that for the more specific stuff.
Yeah.
Is there that concept of sort of a parent and child relationship in Drupal normally, or is that just something that your themes specifically are using, like that sort of architecture?
So Drupal's had that concept, base themes and child themes for a pretty long time.
Okay.
We used to do that in Drupal core. Now we kind of moved away from that because it kind of locks you into like a certain thing. But it's a great way to obviously reuse code and like ship large component libraries like we have here.
Yeah. 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 That's really cool. Um, what else can you show me with the like let's maybe take a look at some of the other themes, and you can show me like what the difference is between them. Um,
Yeah. So this is Neonbyte. So a lot of like one of the main differences between our themes is our headers, and our different uh, placements, like how we place things. We do like a lot of overrides on the various different components, of which there's like really not on any of this page. But I can definitely show you some other themes right now. If I were to like, let me pull down my terminal right here, and I'm just gonna literally reset everything right here. This is a script that's gonna take me back to where we were at the beginning of the podcast, and then I can kind of show you the Great Lakes theme. We have a new theme called Meridian that's coming out maybe later this week or next week, but we don't have the default content for that, so I'd literally have to start dragging stuff around, which might take a little bit of time. But let's wait for this guy to go.
but these are available. I mean, people can like, how do people get these things into their hands? Do
Yeah,
you
it's
have
a
like
good question.
a subscription model? Are they available to download now? Like, how do people get them?
Yeah, so we specifically shied away from a subscription model, just because as soon as you have a subscription model, like, you're dependent on us. If our authentication server or something goes down or something like that, and that can make a lot of people pretty nervous. Um, so we're selling them for a flat price, and the flat price, like right now, is $4.99, which is way more expensive than, say, like your typical WordPress themes. But this is our stuff is like very high quality. It's very accessible. I literally probably have thousands of hours into this. It's built in with best practices, where I've had people reach out to me to buy the theme just so they can kind of learn it and dissect it and things like
Hmm.
that. So let me install.
Well, and
Great
they
Lake.
and the other thing sort of that's included is like you said, like if there's 60 plus individual components that your themes use, that's equivalent to, I mean, I don't know, a handful of Gutenberg specific plugins or a bunch of plugins that you might be paying for anyway. Like, I mean, it seems like
Yeah.
the one-to-one relationship with WordPress themes is not necessarily as one-to-one, right?
Yeah, and like Drupal sites tend to be a little bit larger, like I'm sure you've heard about like Drupal CMS and I'm not sure why the navigation's not appearing, but let's go to the home page and see what we got here. So this is Great Lakes right here. It's kind of like you know, meant to be a kind of an example university, and we have like different components in here. These are like full card images, and you can see like we have like some you know events and testimonials, some statistics. Uh, all of these components are available on our all of our themes, but like the main thing is the headers, the footers, the defaults are all different. And one of the things that we're kind of working on putting on our website is like different variations of the same theme. Like if you take, for example, Great Lakes here, or you take Neonbyte or Meridian, and you choose different artwork, you choose different typography, different styles as you're placing it there, like it's going to look radically different, and it's hard for people to visualize what that is, and I think that's kind of an issue for us, so we're working on that pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna ask about like, if I wanted to take one of these themes, but then like change the colors or change like you said, like the font or something. How would how
Yeah.
would I how would I do that? How does that work?
Yeah, well, so if you go into your theme settings right here, you have like a whole bunch of different options right here. So we have things like color scheme settings. We can you can change that around to. I feel like somehow some JavaScript's not working right here on our base theme, because I'm not seeing the our little color picker right here.
Okay.
But that
Live
being
demos.
yeah, that being said, this is more of a Drupal problem than a Great Lakes problem. So you can change like like right now we can change like the footer to black. We can you have different options for social media, and like I said, color scheme. So Firehouse is kind of a red. So if we
Mm-hmm.
go back here, we go back to the home page right here. And at that point, we should start seeing red. If I guess it probably didn't say because of those errors, but you get the general idea. But yeah,
If somebody wanted to make their own set of color schemes or themes to apply, would they add their own like component? Would they make a child theme of this theme? Like how would is are these not or you pretty much need to work within the settings for the theme?
yeah. So like number one, you can define your own hex value in there to set your base
Yep.
color.
Yeah.
Like if and that's done through the Drupal UI. If you want to get in and like add in different colors, you can override. Like we have a number of different tokens right here. So like if you go into we'll go into Dripyard base and look at some of these like kind of our base colors right here. So uh, right here, we're actually getting. This is where we actually get the base primary color from Drupal. Then we create a palette. This is relative color syntax for all you
Okay.
CSS nerds out there. But you can kind of see that we're creating a palette from 1 to 1,000 from that initial color, where we're just adjusting the lightness value right there.
Okay.
And at that point, we have a neutral, and we have things like status colors and stuff like that. So you can easily, like, because this is just a CSS variable, you can override this in your child theme very, very easily.
Right, but
And
also if you just put in that hex value in Drupal, then you're already creating essentially a color scheme of like
yeah,
variations of that color because of because of how you've written the CSS. Yeah.
That's exactly it. And if you want to even get more granular, I told you like I showed you how you change like your themes for your different sections. You can go down into themes right here, and you can kind of
Right.
see how like the surface colors map to the like the neutral colors and text colors and stuff like that. And we do it like this because like we can pretty much guarantee that it's going to meet like proper contrast for
Mm-hmm.
accessibility reasons,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
But if you
So
wanted to, you could create your own
yeah,
variables to override this stuff, and that's,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you can get in here and just call this like pink, right, like that, and at that point, it's going to be pink,
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward, and we'll even walk you through that process. Like if you buy a theme for us, it comes with 2 free months of support, and then you can, of course, we're going to try to get you to get on the yearly support plan so we can make some money.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
So how does Dripyard fit in with the idea of a Drupal marketplace?
That's a good question. I'm really excited that you kind of got to that, right? So I got to explain what the Drupal marketplace is, which is going to lead into like a whole bunch of other questions. So obviously, coming from WordPress land, there is a very large, robust economy of WordPress themes. It's the same for things like, Webflow and Shopify and things like that. That does not exist in Drupal for the reasons that I kind of mentioned before. So like within Drupal, you can site build your way to a very complex content architecture, get your data onto page, output how you want. But as soon as you want to make it look pretty, you have to hire a front end developer, and that costs typically like to build an entire theme, I would say like north of $10,000, maybe even more depending on what's involved. Um, so when or you can just kind of slap on our theme, purchase the theme, slap it on, and at that point, wire in your data, and you're kind of up and running. The market, Drupal's marketplace though is not going to be selling themes. It's going to be selling what's called site templates. And site, let me yell at my dogs for a second right here. They're under my desk, and the one's whining at the other. Um, Site templates are a combination of theme, configuration, which is basically your content model, and also default content. So like let's say as Dripyard, I can create a site template, let's call it for a church. And I can build out like the content model, which might have things like audio recordings, like podcast functionality. It might have an event calendar. It might have, whoever's in the church, like some type of staffing page. It might have like a blog, you know, and all that type of stuff. I can build that out. I can wire that in. I can even input default content in there that has like some sample audio files, some sample blog posts, so people can kind of see how it's put together and try it out. I can package this up as a site template, and sell this. I don't know what we're going to sell for, but it's going to be definitely north of like 500 because that's what we're charging for our themes. And at that point, you can download the site template, and you can pull down an expertly crafted site template that includes content architecture and a beautiful theme that's super accessible and flexible. And you can be up and running in a day for, I don't know, 500 to $1,000. And that's huge because Drupal costs, at previous companies I worked at, we wouldn't even touch Drupal projects if they're under $100,000.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about like being up and running in a day with a Drupal site for like under $1,000. That's huge, you
Right.
know, and like so the Drupal Association, which is a governing body for Drupal, is going to be putting up a marketplace on their website where you can sell these site templates. And as you sell these site templates, there's going to be a little bit of a kickback to the Drupal Association, which is
Interesting.
needed because like they're chronically underfunded because we give our stuff away for free,
Hmm.
you know, and
But that's also to be expected. Like you think about like a marketplace like Envato or something, like they're going to take their cut just for hosting the
mhm,
thing and the infrastructure and all that stuff. Yeah.
it's exactly it. Yeah. So, and I mean, if we sell more, I'm totally happy, and plus, like obviously, I like to contribute to Drupal, and that includes financially.
Hmm.
So, yeah, yeah. So they're just gonna have a big page up there selling site templates. You can pull them down, you can demo them, et cetera, et cetera.
So do you have a couple questions in the chat? The first one is talking about performance. What about performance, Lighthouse, page load, that sort of thing? I'm assuming that you have thought about these things a lot.
Yeah.
Tell me about what Dripyard does in those respects.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So Drupal out of the box is fairly quick just because it's server-side rendered, it's PHP. And it does a lot of things right. Like with a single directory component architecture, CSS is only loaded when the component's loaded. JavaScript's only loaded when the JavaScript's loaded. So by componentizing properly and not like including all this duplicate stuff in there, you're definitely cutting down on all the assets that are loaded. Um, we also preload our fonts. Like all of our fonts are bundled within the themes. And have you ever like gone to a website and the fonts look one way and then they flash
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
the font comes in? We we work around that by doing a preload of those fonts. And we also have settings, talking about Lighthouse, there's like the cumulative, there's a number of different like critical metrics in there, including cumulative layout shift and like first paint and things like that. Uh, we ship a number of recipes that um, that kind of put out the best practices for that, and things like that is like we have image styles, and which in Drupal land image styles are like derivative images. So you upload like a large image and then it
Yeah.
creates thumbnails and stuff. All of our image styles that we ship convert that format to AVIF. And
Okay.
AVIF, if you're not familiar, is one of the newer image formats that's supported by all browsers. And it drastically decreases your image sizes. In addition to that, it supports transparency and things like that. We also y- like we lazy load our images by default, but not within the hero section or above the fold. So there's like a lot of little tweaks, like as I said, like Drupal kind of handles like heavy lifting. Just Drupal's architecture makes us inherently fast. But if you take this, you throw it on a fast CDN like Fastly that Pantheon provides or something like that, it's going to be lightning quick. If you go on dripyard.com and you measure us, like I don't think we're quite at 100. If we disabled our analytics scripts, we probably would be. But as we stand now, we're pretty close.
Yeah. Going back to the Drupal marketplace, um, so essentially you're talking about, so the marketplace is going to be selling or focusing on site templates, and the site template is like a collection of things. So like if I'm a real estate agent and I want to have a site for all of the houses that I'm selling, I could find a real estate template
Yep.
that is focused on that thing, and like where houses is a content type or something like that,
Yeah.
and then part of that would be a theme that
Hmm.
is included into that template. So Dripyard selling themes, like your Dripyard themes would be like potentially a component of a larger template that could, and then like for me as a real estate agent, all I need to do is install that template, and then I essentially have my site with all the things that you've just shown, all the things I can customize with the content types that are
Hmm.
already configured, and I just need to like go in and basically do data entry.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely it. And I mean, we like the site templates also ship with like demo like sample data. So if we were to do a real estate template, we would include like a bunch of houses, so you can kind of see how everything interoperates. That's the word. And And at that point, when you're ready, delete the sample data and start inputting your own. And the cool thing is like once you're there, you're on Drupal. So like if you have a real estate agent or like a real estate agency, and you want to, I don't know, navigate or like pivot into something else, you're on Drupal. You can do anything. Like you
Hmm.
create your other content type. You create this. You know, you can use things like Canvas to map your data into your new content types, and like this is all like either no code or very low code to do that. You know, and it does take a little bit of training, but like it's awesome. You know, it's a complex thing, you know, to have like a real estate agency be able to manage their own Drupal site, it's powerful.
Can you talk about sort of, I know you've worked on and you're obviously working with Drupal Canvas
Hmm.
now, especially with Dripyard, but like, can you talk a little bit about like the difference between Canvas and like what existed before and why to sort of like put into perspective why Canvas is such a big deal for somebody who might not know like me.
Yeah, yeah. So I started with Drupal back in 2008ish. You know, back then we didn't have any like we would just kind of hard code things in the templates. You had what was called a block UI, which still exists to this day, but it's really clunky. It's hard to visualize where things are. If you allow me to share my screen, I'll show the block UI.
Sure.
And we still use that to a certain case and to a certain level where you define different regions in your
Yeah, yeah,
theme,
yeah.
you know. So like
I have
and we
seen
still,
this.
yeah, and you can drag stuff around and stuff, but it doesn't give you that visual cue on where things are. I think you can hit demonstrate regions or something, and this works kind of, but it's like super clunky, you know. Um, so I can stop sharing my screen now. So people then moved into a couple different mechanisms. One being paragraphs, where like I say the word paragraphs, and for those that are not in Drupal, I'd like to say that paragraphs is like the worst name module ever because it has nothing to do with paragraphs. Like it's really like a group of fields, you know. So you can create like groups of fields, and then at that point you can start dragging those around into different regions. But it still wasn't like really WYSIWYG, you know. Then there was also Layout Builder. Layout Builder, it was included in Drupal core, and when it came out, it was pretty cool. You could click on things and insert like blocks in line, and it did have a visual builder, but it was limited in certain ways. You can't like infinitely nest stuff like we
Mm,
do in Canvas, which kind of limits you. It takes a little bit of work to create like those different blocks to add those and enable those, and then the UI was like really lacking. So the community stepped up and created like a whole bunch of different modules to kind of make the UI better and make things better. But at that point, you know, you have to know to like you got to enable layout builder, then you got to enable these 10 other modules just to
yeah.
make stuff look good and work. And different companies did different things, and then like other people went totally different. So, you know, so there was like really no canonical way of doing page building in Drupal, you know, where like and that's a problem because people are duplicating effort, you know. So that's in the meantime you had like competitors like WordPress, Wix, you know, Squarespace, all these other competitors, even the enterprise ones like AEM and stuff like that, had these drag and drop builders, and and they would show those to marketing people, and the marketing people would be like, "I want that," you know, and like that matters, and people want this stuff, and so at that point, you know, Drupal as a community, we said like we need something, and that's what Drupal Canvas is.
So I'm sure this is a thing that you're thinking about because you're already talking about like Dripyard getting into the site template business. Do we know when, is there any plans on like when a a actual official Drupal marketplace will be in existence. I know, when I was in
Yeah.
Atlanta last year, they teased it, but like,
So
been
they
teasing
were,
it for a year.
yeah, they were really hoping to have it by DrupalCon Chicago, which is coming up in March.
Yeah,
Talking to the insider people, it's probably not going to hit that. I don't know if that's a definitive thing, but it's hopefully going to be shortly after. Like there's a group of pre-selected companies that are going to be making those site templates, and they're actually being vetted by the Drupal Association to make sure they're halfway decent and stuff like that. And because we want to throw those up, you can't, especially when you initially launch, you can't have like crap up.
hmm
But so we've been we're in the process of like kind of going through all those process, putting together the site templates and things like that. And I think the site templates themselves are going to be ready. I just don't think the marketplace component, like any type of e-commerce integration or however
yeah.
they're going to do that on Drupal.org, is going to be ready. That's my understanding and my assumptions. I hope I'm right.
Do you do you know, like, talking about the vetting thing? I know for like the WordPress.org themes repository, there is a very sort of rigorous at least initial submission process where things need to go through a number of reviews and be improved by the theme review team before they can even be published.
Yeah.
Is there going to be sort of a similar thing? I imagine there'd be a similar thing for site templates as well.
Yeah. There's going to be some similar things, including like some accessibility reviews and best practices
Interesting.
reviews
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and and, and things like that. And like like Drupal has a similar process. Like when you first publish stuff to Drupal.org, like if you have a module or a theme that you're putting up on Drupal.org, the person who does that has to go through that vetting process at least once.
Yeah. Well, cool. Thanks for Mike for coming on and showing us your themes.
Yeah,
I think it's
I
super
thanks.
cool. Yeah, it's really interesting to see like how the worlds of Drupal and WordPress kind of like are like, I don't want to say they overlap, but like there's a lot of common themes, and I think that like there's this idea. I mean, it feels like Drupal has learned a lot from some of WordPress's successes, and so is maybe going about like the future of what Drupal is from the perspective of like what are the things that we can learn and do ourselves in our own way and maybe do it better. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. There's been so much, like WordPress has done so much right, like which is why y'all like have like 30 to 40% of the web or something like that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah, where can people find you? Where can people find your themes and more information about Dripyard?
Yeah, so it's dripyard.com, which I think is like a cool name because drip is a play off of drop, which was a play off of Drupal. And like you'll see my picture on the homepage. I'm on LinkedIn. If you see me on LinkedIn, I am Mike Herchel's disembodied head because it has my head just floating there. And I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on Mastodon. I don't use Twitter anymore, but like I'm mainly around. You can find me at DrupalCons. I would like to also plug. I'm giving a training at DrupalCon Chicago where me and another really smart person is doing best practices and theming for the future and stuff like that for Drupal, and that's offered through when you buy your DrupalCon ticket. You can buy that.
Well, awesome. Thanks again for coming on. We've got some love
Yeah.
for Florida Drupal Camp in the chat. And yeah, thanks again for coming on. Thanks everyone for joining us. And we'll see you all on the internet.
Bye, everybody.